How do you like that green slime?
Over the years, there has been a lot of fantastic Venom designs. This design definitely falls into the top 5 Venom designs for me personally. I'm a real sucker for anything that has extra heads and extra arms, that Lovecraftian feel to it. You could say that this particular character, this design, this toy, kickstarted my love for action figures. Spider-Man Venom, Planet of the Symbiotes, Venom the Madness was the very first action figure I can ever remember having or owning as a child. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of love, a lot of passion, a lot of nostalgia put into this custom. There was 4 variants. There was the black and white traditional, translucent yellow with the red eyes, the green and black, the one that I had as a child, and the ultra rare solid yellow. If you look at the Monster Venom mold, it shares the same proportions as the old Toybiz figure, but with a more modern articulation setup. I originally started this project around the end of 2020. After scouring the internet for reference pics and trying to get a good feel for the overall design I was going to take on this guy, I ended up befriending an excellent artist known as Chronic Dreamer Customs. He had already started the process of a Venom the Madness and almost finished one. Seeing the work in progress from Chronic Dreamer on his Venom the Madness was incredibly inspirational. I couldn't believe I had found a custom action figure artist that had the same old school mentality that I have. Once I saw that he could articulate the action figure with absolutely no paint rub, with this high level of paint detail and just a very high standard in custom action figures, I knew he took the hobby, the craft, the business, if you will, incredibly serious like I do. So I reached out to him. This is something that I don't do. I don't reach out to people. I just feel like custom action figures is just one of those things where it's very hard to find like-minded people, and having paint free products seems to be a very inconsistent situation in the custom community. Very controversial, which I truly do not understand. But I digress. It was an absolute pleasure getting to know Chronic Dreamer. Unfortunately, I haven't heard of him in a very long time. It seems he has phased away from the custom community, and that tends to happen. Burnout hits us all. The last time I saw him, he was working on an amazing project, which was Deep Sea Venom. He has a great passion for bringing the old Toybiz figures back to life, something that I also hold very dear. I feel like revitalizing those older lines and bring them to the forefront of modern articulation is just something that is necessary almost to preserve the past. I've talked about it before, but I truly believe there was something incredibly creative back in the 90s, this spark of just pure art that you just don't see in today's standards of toys. It almost feels like generic and manufactured to a T, very corporate, very strict in design, very straightforward and almost boring, if you will. Back then they had so much creative range to do whatever they wanted to do. Having very similar interests, me and Chronic Dreamer, we got on like a house on fire. It was so fun and enjoyable having conversations with Chronic Dreamer. He had such creative ideas to revitalize these old lines. Using a various amount of sculpt, green stuff, milliput, black stuff, to achieve this organic mess all over his body, which is the skin stretching and the veins trying to match the texture of the already existing Hasbro sculpt. There is a video on my YouTube channel already of me live streaming the sculpt process of this guy. I had originally planned on doing all 3 variants, simply because I enjoyed the process of this far too much. It was super enjoyable just adding all those heads. As you can imagine, chopping up a Marvel Select, Venom the Madness, and all the other various pieces and parts that I use can get very costly. I can definitely see myself doing another Venom the Madness, but not on a Marvel Legends base body. I would really love to test my customizing skills and really push the limits of my own creativity with a Storm Collectibles body. These days all I use is Storm Collectibles for my own projects because I absolutely adore that toy company. To get that ultra vibrant green that I used, it took many coats of white and then a very scorpion green in Citadel paints, and then I layered it up bit by bit using Flash Git's yellow. Layer by layer. It took a long time. I would say the longest process of this entire custom was the paint job. For the logo, you can definitely see I took creative liberties on basically the entire design, but for the logo in particular, those arms were in the way, so I had to maneuver around that. For the face, I decided to go really detailed. I wanted massive, almost like oceanic, deep dwelling anglerfish. I wanted all these teeth to be layered on top of each other. I've mentioned in the past several times that is one of my favorite designs when it comes to monster-esque type creatures. I love when they have that layering of these monstrous, creepy teeth, almost shark-like in appearance. Even though this custom meant a great deal to me, with its pure nostalgia-based influence, I did end up selling this custom. Whenever I get to a point where I feel like the articulation is outdated, for me, it was the ab crunch. It limited the range of movement so heavily. It desperately required, and this mold in particular needs it, an upper torso swivel and a double ball peg waist. Whenever I get to a point with customs where I know that I can do better, I end up selling them off. This allows me to fuel the next project, whatever that may be. For articulation, now bear with me, there is an absolute ton of articulation points in this action figure due to all the heads and arms. For the arms, I ended up using various different Hasbro fodder pieces, Bucky Cap, piece of Spider-Man, Spidey UK, all those type of sizes that worked really well for this. I also tried to keep a lot of the plastic a green, so looking for certain characters with green arms. It was tricky, but I got there in the end. For the heads, like I mentioned before, Marvel Select heads and their joints as well, for the most part. There is some modern articulation in there. Movie Venom heads, slightly resculpted here and there to allow variation and difference, just to give a bit of a uniqueness. That was based off the Godzilla movie with King Ghidorah in it. I really liked how the three heads, even though they looked very similar, they had their own personalities. So I kind of wanted to incorporate a little bit of that into the custom. Giving each head its own unique look allows it to have a little bit of personality. You'll notice the hands are all kind of layering over each other and clambering to the front, reaching out. I really like the idea of each and every one of these symbiote heads being different personalities that all are trying to fight for control over the madness that's going on in Eddie Brock's mind. You'll notice that these arms that are fused into the Monster Venom forearm have various different articulation points. Some will have double elbows, some will have the female ball jointed elbows, and some will have single elbows or no elbow at all and just the hand articulation. That was fully intentional to add a wide range of articulation points for posing. Looking at this custom from a different perspective, more from the future me, I do think that I should have kept it a little bit more accurate to the original source material. And not only that, but I really would have liked to have added those large red whips that come out of his forearms. I think that could have been really cool from a toy perspective, adding to that fun factor. This definitely won't be the last time you see Venom the Madness. I really love the design overall, and I'd like to recreate it using the yellow color scheme. I'm a big fan of yellow. I love painting yellow. It's my favorite color to paint. So I'd like to do that one using a Storm Collectibles mold in the future. These arms are quite interesting. They were originally the MacGargan arms, then I cut and fused them to the back. And then I still needed range of movement, so I used the Hulk forearm and fused it into the MacGargan, completely and utterly re-engineering it from scratch. And the same for the hands. They are the Monster Venom hands, but they've been completely re-sculpted. Using the green plastic from the Hulk, I had no paint rub issues. And then using the black from the Monster Venom wrist pegs, again, no issues. Color matching, as I described earlier. What's great about this particular custom is when I was creating this guy, I didn't expect such a huge response. But I ended up with tons of fan art, which I'd like to show some of. Unfortunately, I have lost a lot of it due to the sands of time, but here are a few. And on that note, I'll have to love you and leave you. And this has been a pleasure to create this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And once again, to all my lovely patriots, you guys literally keep me going when it comes to creating these things. You guys funding my work and pushing me to create more and more. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.